What's up, guys? Welcome back to the 3 of 7 podcast. We have an awesome interview-style episode for you today with some friends of ours named Kevin Winn and Logan Locke. All right? We talk about a lot of different stuff on this episode. Everything from faith and walking with Christ to being creative as an entrepreneur to what it looks like to start something new. What that process is like, and it's in terms of business and entrepreneurship. We talk about running. We talk about fitness. Kevin owns a company called MoveWell, and that's his entire mission in life is bringing health and wellness to professionals in corporate spaces. All right, he's serving people in an amazing way. He has an amazing mission, and these guys just bring a ton of great conversation to the podcast today. I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. This episode is brought to you by our partners at HOIST. You guys know we've been using HOIST here at 3 of 7 Project for going on a couple of years now. I have put this stuff through the paces. It is IV level hydration. It hydrates you better than water. It keeps you going. It's got 70 calories. It's got 430 milligrams of sodium. It's got calcium, potassium, magnesium, all the things that you need, that I need to keep me hydrated, whether I'm out working on the farm all day long in the Georgia heat or whether I'm running a 250-mile race. HOIST has met and exceeded the standard in all environments that we have used it in. They're an amazing company. They're built by amazing people. The product is made here in America, and we just ask that you support the companies that support this podcast. It means a lot to us, and we've all got to win together. That's what these partnerships are all about. So check them out at drinkhoist.com. Promise you, you won't be disappointed. Without further ado, here is the interview with Kevin Winn and Logan Locke. Love you guys. All right. Oh, tech guy says we're live. He's on time for once. Dang, son. You're a little more squared away than usual.
Dude, I'm always on
since
time.
We got guests in the house.
You're the one always late.
What the crap are you talking about, man? What's up, YouTube? Welcome back. You guys aren't used to a Friday. It's Friday, right? Yeah. A Friday live stream, man. Is anybody watching this thing?
Yeah, we got 16 on here right now.
What the crap?
It technically don't start till another 3 minutes, but it's on.
What are y'all, YouTube, what are you guys doing, man, at freaking 11 o'clock on a Friday? Tuning into a live stream.
Mailman's on here again.
Oh, he running the mail route. Mailman, you know you ain't supposed to drive and look at your phone, right, Mailman?
He's probably a bike deliverer because he's training for TNGA.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. We got two.
Yeah, it's bumping up now. We're about 100 now.
Oh, dang, son. What's up, YouTube? We're happy you guys are here. We got two special guests in the house up in the studio. This morning, we got Kevin Winn and Logan Locke. We met these men out at the Hot Rod Ultra and also got to spend some time with them a little bit prior to the race day. Got to hear a little bit about what they do. Kevin, a little bit about what your journey's been in entrepreneurship, what your passion is, and what you're doing for the community in terms of health and fitness. And it's a really, really unique thing that you guys are doing. So they drove all the way from Bowling freaking Green to Georgia to talk to you guys. So welcome your guests today, YouTube. Welcome them. I got to address something before we get into this conversation. So apparently, YouTube, I called Trump supporters idiots on my last truck talk, okay? I'm going to have to go back and listen to the record, all right? But
You lose a lot of followers.
Well,
or gain
apparently
a lot?
I called Trump supporters idiots, and it's like kicking over a beehive, man. Is what it was like.
Sure.
I mean, look, I'll go back and see the record. I wanna address this though.
I think this calls for an extra truck talk. Like this should generate a new truck talk.
Here, let me tell you. Let me tell you why I say. Let me tell you. Every time I see somebody driving and they have the Trump bumper sticker, they're driving erratically.
That's right.
I don't know. Look, man, if you're gonna sport your Trump bumper sticker, at least drive like a civilized human being. Okay? Let me tell you what, man. I like Donald Trump. This joker, Donald Trump, has got some balls about him. I like him. All right? Actually, no, I don't like him. Actually, I think he's the best president that has been in office here in the United States in my lifetime. But I don't like him. You know why? Because I don't like any politicians. You know why? Because politicians are servants. They're in a position of service. I do not idolize any politician. We glamorize politicians, we elevate them to a celebrity status, and then we fly their flags, we wear their t-shirts, we put their freaking bumper stickers on, and we idolize them as if they are going to be the solution to our problems. You're an idiot if you think that any politician is going to be a solution to your problem. Okay? That's what I'm talking about here. I don't trust any politician. Do you think that I'm gonna... The number one thing that disqualifies you, should disqualify you from becoming a politician in today's age, is the fact that you want to be a politician. Do you realize our politicians are the lowest common denominators of our society? Most people that are in politics, they're in politics for their entire life because they can't freaking make it in the real world. So they go into politics because it's easy, because they can become corrupt and they can become millionaires through their little deals that they make. Because they can't make it out here. And that's why they stay in politics for 20 years. And you idolize these people. Yeah, Trump did well out here. That's good. That makes him a little different. Still don't like him because he wants to be a politician. Was he a good president? Heck yeah, man. Screw that guy, man. I had to address that real quick.
No worries.
It's like kicking over a beehive, man. Do y'all like to talk politics?
I do.
I listened to that truck talk, and for the record, I think you said if you have a Trump sticker.
I thought that's what I said.
I think you said if you have a Trump sticker on your car, you're an idiot.
I could have swore that's what I said.
I think that's what you said.
We'll go back to the record maybe on Wednesday and we'll play that over.
Yeah.
Didn't that Land Cruiser out there have a Trump sticker walking in?
Yeah.
We ripped it off on the way in. So it's probably not there anymore.
I think it had a flag in the back, didn't it?
Dude, the only accident that I've had, the only wreck I've had on the road in the last decade was because of a Trump sticker person driving erratically.
I heard that
Oh,
podcast.
gosh.
Yeah.
But weren't you swerving on the other side?
Well, yeah, because I wanted to get around this joker, man. This joker was like stopping, swerving, and finally he just stops right in the middle of the road. And so I'm like, okay, this is my opportunity to go around him. Well, I go around him, and he just gasses it to turn into a driveway. Like, first of all, that's what a blinker's for. Turn your blinker on, Trump supporter.
Never mind the passing on the double yellow.
Right. Yeah,
I'm
totally fine.
trying to get away from this cat. Look, Trump supporter, turn your blinker on first, and then when you go to turn into your driveway, you don't have to come to a dead stop and then turn. You can slow down and do a rolling turn. Okay? Just to let you guys know.
You probably just wanted to make sure you saw his bumper sticker. That's why he came to a complete
You know
stop.
what?
That could have been what it was.
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah, now you know. Next time.
That's it. Hold on. I got a question for you guys before we dig into this episode, because you guys are smart gentlemen. All of these three men here in this room are all three much smarter than I am. So I'd like to get their perspective. Do you think that your vote counts?
I think it depends on where you live, right?
Give me some perspective on this, because I want to do a truck talk on this, but I'm like, really, man? Does your vote count? I mean, I want to know what you guys think. First of all, do you vote?
I do vote.
Yeah.
I do
Okay.
vote. I think that's I mean, that's a right. We need to do that, right? It's a responsibility. Does it count? I kind of feel like I don't know. I don't know that it does count. I'll be honest with
Here's
you.
my perspective is, well, I go back to when I was a freshman in high school. I had a history teacher tell me that if you don't vote, you can't complain. And so that just kind of stuck with me, whether it's right or wrong. But I think if nobody votes, then it doesn't count. So, I don't know. It depends how you look at it. So it's like, if everybody thinks collectively, like, no, it doesn't count, so we're not going to vote, then no, it's not going to matter.
Right.
But
That's a good point. I've been thinking about that too. I've been thinking like, well, if nobody votes, then we would never know if they actually count or not.
Right.
So
They'd say they got votes and that so-and-so won the election. Even if nobody cast their vote, they'd end up saying somebody voted.
I personally think that it's laughable to think that our vote counts in the presidential election. I think that's laughable. But I'm kind of to the point that it's like, well, if everybody went out and just was flooding the voting ballots, and like it was completely obvious who the country was in support of for this leadership position of service as president of the United States, if it was just became blatantly obvious who the majority of the country was in support of, and then it didn't go that way, then that's like the opportunity to be like, okay, look, y'all jokers ain't counting our freaking votes, man.
Mm-hmm. And then you mean like if it got proved that they miscounted and stuff, and then talking about if something like that happened.
You know what, man?
I thought you was referring what just happened a few years back.
I'm trying to think through this, man. I'm trying to think through this. People get mad at me, man, for talking about violence. Look, man, evil only responds to violence. Like real, true evil. It only responds to violence. There's no way to drive real evil, and I believe in evil. There's no way to drive it into you cannot negotiate with it. You can't negotiate with a group of human beings who have been turned over to a reprobate mind. That's what I'm talking about. True evil is a human being who can no longer distinguish right from wrong. You can't negotiate with someone like that. You know? Man, I got to ease up, man. Just on my mind.
For me, so 2 years ago, I just, got off social media. I got off just everything. I took the internet off my phone. I was going to do it for 30 days.
Wow.
And I'm still there. I have, just a few, I can do email, like maps, podcasts, just a couple things, because I was finding myself getting so caught up in all the political stuff and pondering this stuff all the time. And then I started thinking, like, does this really matter? Like I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but do I need to be worrying about this? Can I really affect it or impact it or change it? And the answer is no.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's going to do its thing. Right. So,
well, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because that leads me into the ultimate conclusion on these political conversations. You know why I talk about this stuff? Because it's fun. That's why.
Right.
I mean, it ultimately, it don't freaking matter. You know why? Because the king is coming. The Alpha, the Omega, the first and the last, the beginning and the end. He's coming. Yep. That's what matters. So all of this political conversation that I engage in and that we engage in, it's fun. And we're citizens, and we should have discourse about things that affect our lives, and we should be involved in you know, the making of rules. We should be involved in culture and all that stuff. But ultimately, I know the king is coming, so I can have all these political conversations, and I can have them with people that don't even agree with me and take it with a grain of salt. I don't freaking care, man.
Yeah.
You know? So I think that's the ultimate conclusion.
Right. Well, and also, like, if you're not doing, I mean, like me sitting in a recliner going through Instagram or, you know, whatever, and worrying about it, like, that's not helping me at all. And it's not helping the situation if I'm worried about it either. Right. Like,
No, it's really
so that's
not.
where I was getting so worked up about all this stuff. I think the whole country is, right. And it's like, well, if you're not in a position where you can do something about it, then why worry about it, I guess. And if I'm not willing to do something about it, then I need to stop worrying, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So you're still maintaining that?
Yep. Yeah. So I started, when was that? November of 2021, I think. And I was going to do it for 30 days. I have a real close friend that, you know, kind of challenged me. Well, what started is we're a mobile, like a tech company, essentially. We have a mobile app and everything. And one of our developers has a flip phone. And he really challenged. I'm like, gosh, if this guy can do it, he's literally an app developer that's on a flip phone. Like, I have no excuse to not, because I was kind of going through all these. I was trying to justify, well, you know, I need Instagram or Facebook to keep up with family, or, you know, what if I want to sell something or whatever. You know, I had every little thing, and I realized, like, it was almost like an addiction. And what I was never probably a person that was like this phone right here. It's an iPhone 8, was my first smartphone. And I used to talk crap about people that were on their phones all the time. And then I found myself going right into it. So I was like, I'm going to take 30 days and just take a break from this and just see if I like it. And what I found is, like, I didn't miss it one bit. And then, like, my relationships improved because instead of keeping up with people on Facebook or Instagram, like, I was calling them or texting them or having lunch with them. Mm-hmm. So I saw all my relationships heighten as a result. And, you know, I was like, well, I just don't ever want to go back now. Like, if anything, I want to keep going more and more towards the flip phone. But I feel like podcasts, I do feel like, because I don't listen to a lot of junk podcasts. That's why I never listen to 3F7 Project. No, I'm joking.
That's what I was about to say.
No, I do listen to 3F7 Project, obviously. But I try to only listen to stuff that builds me up, you know, and I feel like podcasts I'm able to do that, you know. The last thing is email, and I'm finding myself just constantly checking it for work and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I want to get to the point of, like, it's still a crutch for me, and I need to be able to shut that off. So I'm trying to work on that. Mm-hmm. For the next step.
So I see the solution, because I've thought about this a lot, man. I've actually even thought about developing some sort, like formatting some sort of legitimate plan that I am going to follow and I can challenge others to follow. Almost like, you guys know Andy's 75 hard. Have you heard of that?
Oh yeah.
So, but this would be more around breaking contact with these devices that we don't. I don't even think we need to say that it's almost like an addiction. It is 100% an addiction. It's been designed perfectly to keep you on it. And the thing that it hinders me the most in is my productivity.
Yeah.
Like, I can't imagine how much more productive I would be if I would do what you've done, Kevin. And it's weird too, because my excuse for using social media and those things. My excuse is because it's part of my business, but it's like, how much am I actually doing on there that impacts the business? Like it's going on there, taking 10 minutes to write a post and then answer a few messages. And after that, anything else I do on there is not impacting the body of 3 of 7 project in a positive manner. It's just me just melting my mind.
Yeah.
So did you see your productivity go up?
Oh, like it was amazing how much, and then a lot of stress reduce. Again, because I was looking at stuff that I couldn't control and worrying about it all the time, and then productivity. You think I think these devices make us think we're busy. Like as humans, we need to be, we are made and created to work, right? Like we need to be doing something, and these devices make us feel like we're doing something productive when we're not.
Amen. Right. Man, that's awesome that you said that.
And that's the whole point. And I talk about this to Logan all the time. He's heard this a million times, but like the movie WALL-E, have you ever watched the movie WALL-E?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Oh, so I feel like it's so like basically by the end, all these people are riding in these like little hovercraft devices. They're all morbidly obese, and they're drinking big gulps and looking at basically like iPads before iPads existed. And like, and at some point, like it all gets shut off. Like I can't remember like the ship that they're riding in, like basically like the captain's awakened and he's like, oh, I gotta, he realizes like there's a world out there, and their devices get shut off, and they like look around for the first time, like, oh, like they like notice each other for the first time. And I feel like lately I've been, when I drive into work and stuff, I just sit at stoplights and I just look at people, and every person, like they're so oblivious to what's going on. And my favorite thing we've done recently, I was telling Blake this last night, is we, for the Hot Rod Ultra, to promote it, we got an Assault Runner treadmill, and those are great because you don't have to plug them in. They're self-propelled, right? And so we started setting that up at different corners around Bowling Green. So we were finding the busiest intersections. We were setting it up. We had a sign for the Hot Rod Ultra. So our goal was like to get people wondering what we're doing, scan the QR code, and then go visit the race site, right? We're sitting literally running and like staring. I'm like 5 feet from people to stop, like running, and nobody noticed me. Like they don't even know because they're all looking at their phone. It's the weirdest, it's crazy. And like, so it just makes you realize like how oblivious to life people are. And they're looking at just stupid stuff that doesn't matter, but they feel like they're busy. And like, and especially as a Christian, like how much do I, skip out on prayer and stuff because I'm scrolling through Instagram, right? Like think how many times you could be praying or reading a book or whatever. And so I found I was able to fill up those times with productive things, but I was also able to have time where I'm not doing something. And I think that's really important.
That's powerful, dude.
We have to have moments in our life where we're listening to God, where we're being present to our children. And recently, Amanda, my wife, the other day told me I'm kind of I'm sucked into it again with the texting and stuff, coworkers and stuff like that. Like I'm not perfect with this at all, and I'm still even text messages pull you in, email pulls you in. But I think I've gotten a little better, and at least I'm aware of it a little bit more. But yeah, man, I think technology is useful, but can definitely, I think it's the greatest creation or the greatest tool the devil's ever had especially to attack men.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
Have you never, I mean, y'all think I'm a crazy nut, Christian nut, but.
Oh, you're a nut.
Yes, I am a very extreme person. Is it not odd that this device has an emblem on the back of it that is a piece of fruit with a bite out of it? You can't even make that up, dude.
Yeah, I never thought of that.
I've never.
You can't even make that up.
Yeah.
That's what it is, man.
Well, and
it's odd, man. Look at it. Right there it is. On your computer, Blake.
Oh,
yeah.
You talk about how it makes you, feel like you're busy, you're essentially being a busybody, and then it also does make you busy. And I've thought a lot about like when Dad would work, they would go out, they had their day planned and they would go out and nobody got a hold of them. If someone needed to tell them something changed, plans changed, hey, I need this job done, I need that. You just couldn't tell them. You got it.
Had to come through the landline at the office.
Yeah. You got back to the office and you got your messages for what happened while you were out, and you made adjustments then. And so work that it adds to us or the capacity that it seemingly gives us is actually even just as bad for you, because we have to take on all of these relationships and these, changes and people wanting to contact us and do this. And you can't maintain or manage all of that on a healthy level. It's like it's too much for us to be able to handle. And so I think about that a lot. Just it has progressed the speed at which things are able to be built and done. I'm thinking in like the construction sense, but in any sense, it made the speed at which it was done much faster. But I think it's too fast.
Right.
I think it's too fast.
All right. Okay. I love this conversation. Kevin, I have a proposition for you.
Okay.
Will you please come up with will you lay out a plan that we can, and if you can lay this out, this challenge, this 30-day challenge.
Okay.
We'll launch this off of I'll follow it.
Okay.
And I'll document my journey.
That'd be awesome. Yeah.
We'll launch this, present it to people. But you've done it, and you still and you're running a business that's heavily involved in online interaction, and you've done this. Mm-hmm. That's what's so impressive to me, man. Because I want to know how you did it. I want you to write. Yeah. I want to see something written out. This is what it was like. This is how I did it. These are the changes that I made. This is how I was able to maintain this interaction with my online customers online, but still, make this lifestyle change. Because right now I'm thinking well, how do I do this? And my only solution is I'll just move all my online interaction to desktop only. Yeah. But I think this is like every other addiction. If you're an alcoholic and you can't just stop drinking.
Right.
I know some of you guys have done that, but for a true blue alcoholic, they stop drinking, it's going to kill them. Mm-hmm. It's if you're a drug addict, you can't just quit doing your drugs. You got to go somewhere to get some rehabilitation, right? And they kind of help you with that process. This is the same way. Why has nobody come up with a plan? Do you realize how huge this could be if you came up with this plan? And I keep referencing the 75 hard. This is nothing like 75 hard. Just the only way they would be alike is in the fact that this is a program that kind of lays this out for you, and it's going to require some discipline to follow it. But here's your opportunity.
Yeah.
I would follow that.
Well, and for me too, I'm a very weak person, honestly, and I know that about myself, and I have an addictive personality. And my wife, Amanda, is very strong. And so when I'm having these conversations with her, she's like, well, just don't get on Facebook. Why do you need to take it off your phone? And I'm like,
that won't work for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, you don't understand. If it's there, I'm going to do it.
Yep.
I've heard people talk about you can get these apps and stuff and you can set time limits or this or that, but you know the code, right? And you can get on there and do it.
You can't be your own moderator.
No, you can't. And I know that about myself. So, I literally grieved this for, I literally, and the hardest part of all of this was getting off Strava. That sounds crazy.
Thank God I'm not on there, because it'd just be one more thing.
Well, and I'm a competitive person, and I was going out and running and literally going out and doing a run that does not matter one bit. And, in the park behind my house and thinking about I want to go a little faster so it looks good or I know this segment. It's so stupid. And then I also had 3 years or 4 years of data on there. And when you cancel your Strava, you can save all your data, or you can just wipe it clean. And so it hurt my heart to erase 4 years of running data. It was stupid, so dumb. And I grieved, this whole process, I grieved for 2 months. I didn't want to do it because I didn't want to let go. And which told me is probably why I need to do it, right? I can't let go. But I also recognize that, again, I'm not going to be able to do this myself. So I just started researching, and I do like texting. I like texting. I like being able to text pictures of my kids, but I like being able to FaceTime my children and stuff like that. So I'm I kind of want to keep there's a couple of things with a smartphone that I do think are good. for me personally and for like our family. So I want to keep a smartphone, but how can I do it without one of these apps where I'm in control? And there's some settings in your phone basically where you can set a passcode that you take Safari off. You can take whatever app, anything off, and you can set a password. But I was like, I don't need to know the password. So I had my wife go in essentially and set the password. So I don't know what it is. And that's
you gotta write this plan, dude. I'm serious.
It's simple though. I mean,
I'm serious.
I'll write
dude.
it down, but
it's not simple because I would have never thought of that.
Yeah.
Like I would have never thought of that. Like, no, this could potentially be one of the most life-changing things for people that exists in today's current society. If you wrote this out and it was launched off of a big enough platform that it got to enough people, it could potentially be the most life-changing thing for human beings in today's day and age. Like, this, to me, would be more life-changing than, in a positive way, than sending somebody on a fitness journey. Like, we focus so much on, like, get in shape. I call YouTube fat turds all the time. Like, it pisses me off that people are so sloppy and they take their health for granted and all this. And yes, that does impact and change your life when you get healthy 100%. But this could potentially be even more impactful than that health journey. Now, I think they both need to go together.
Right.
You should work on both. But like me, man, I'm a healthy dude, man. I train every day. I've got that down pat. I'm out of control with this thing, man. I'm out of freaking control. Like,
and they create it that way, like, right? Like, they know what they're doing, those engineers. That's the whole point.
you realize
right?
how powerful this could be, man?
Yeah. Well, there's actually I heard a podcast the other day. There is a phone called Light Phone that just came out. Yeah. That's kind of like a smartphone, but it doesn't have any apps, no web browsing.
But see, people aren't going to do that.
Well, yeah, that's funny. So I go to their website
because I need my iPhone because so things that I have to do, like I have to be able to film things, like, because that's part of my business, right?
Yeah.
So I need a good camera, I need good storage, I need
Polaroid, boy.
I need good service.
Yeah.
So like those features are I have to keep. I think doing this in a way that doesn't require somebody to go out and get this new phone, which is awesome that somebody created that.
Right. I mean, what's interesting, but when I went to the website, and if you check it out, and it seems really cool, but they talk about how you can basically keep your number and switch out your SIM card. And so you can go like a weekend with this phone, so you can take a break and go back. So I think what they're recognizing is people aren't going to just use it all the time.
It's too addictive.
Yeah,
Right.
You can't have both.
It's too powerful, man.
Yeah.
It's too powerful. I mean, you want to talk about power? I mean, what do we think as things that are powerful in this world? Negative things. Sex, money. I think this device is more powerful than sexual desire and greed. I really do. I think it's more powerful.
And people use it to feed both of those.
Yeah. It's, dude, I love this conversation.
It's funny because
I know you got all kinds of spare time. It's not like you're busy doing anything.
Well, it's funny because it's funny that you think this is something that could benefit people. It's definitely benefited me, but it's just something I've done personally. Like, I don't know. I see people struggling with it, but I guess I just don't think of it being a bigger program like you're talking about it could be.
Well, what's so important? Like the thing that makes you unique is like you've already found a way to make this work. See, that's the value that you bring to the table in creating a program like this, because you've done the hard part. You've figured it out, what worked, what didn't work, how you like things you had to change. You've already done all that. So like that's huge,
When you overlook, you think, all right, well, this, I thought of these things, and I did them. And if someone wants to do that, they can do the same thing. You know, they can think up their plan. But the problem is 90% of people have to be told what to do. They're not going to think up like, oh, okay, so yeah, I know I need to do this. Let me change. No, they need somebody to tell them.
That's me.
Do this, this, and this. It works.
In this scenario, I want somebody to say, okay, day 1, this is the part, day 2, day 3, all the way through. Yeah.
That's like, I think, well, you're like, it's simple really, but we overcomplicate the crap out of it. Because we're like, yeah, it's simple to you, but where do I start? What do I do?
I think the same. Oh, I mean, apply it to running. I feel the same way. People like there was a lady in the gym this morning talking to me about how she just signed up for her first 10K and she's wanting to know all this stuff and training and I'm like, it's a 10K, like it's simple, right? Like, but that's because
perspective.
I've already done it.
Well, and also that goes back to again, I don't think social media. We're on social media. That's how we connected, right? Like I don't think it's inherently bad, but that's what people are selling stuff to her, making her think that like, hey, you have to go buy this program, you have to go buy this shoe, you've got to get this water bottle, you've got to get this heart rate monitor, you have to stay within these heart rate ranges. It's funny, we were talking the other day about, I don't know what your approach is on some of the heart rate training, kind of zone training and stuff like that. I was like, you know what? Like I've done all that stuff. I was like, when I'm in the best shape is when I just run hard. And you got to have some days where you're going easy too, of course. But like, I don't know. I think we just make it so complicated. And, I can't go over this certain level and this and that. And I don't know. In fitness in general, like, I mean, again, we're a wellness fitness company, but you don't have to go to a gym. Like the only reason you think you have to go to a gym is because social media and all these people making money are advertising to you, telling you have to. It's really simple, right? Like it's really simple. And you look back in the early 1900s or even up to the 50s, there was not even when we were kids, we're close to the same age. You didn't see a lot of obesity in children, right? Because we just got outside and moved. Like we didn't have these devices. When it comes back to it's just get outside and do something,
Yeah. Use your body.
Use your body. Yeah.
It's what my workout was yesterday? I ran up and down the mountain 2 times, and I did pull-ups off of rafters in a pole barn and push-ups on a concrete pad, and I felt freaking great, man. Yeah.
And then we think we have to plan it all out before we can start. Like, okay, I've got to have this perfect regimen, this stuff before I can even do it. Like before I even go outside and try to walk or run, I've got to do a month of research and like just go.
Just go. That's how everything works.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That's how business works. That's how entrepreneurship works. Everything. That's what it is. You just got to step off into it, man.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
And I think it's a really powerful thing when you start doing it. Kind of backstory. So my daughter dances, and 2 years ago, if my wife's watching this, she's gonna laugh because this one song at this dance recital like just developed a huge part of our business actually. But these older dancers were dancing to the Mumford and Sons "Awake My Soul." Have you ever heard that song?
I haven't.
It's a great song, and but I was like, I just kept thinking about that, like "Awake my soul, awake my soul, awake my," like what does that mean? And like it just, I don't know, it just hit me, and I'm like literally at a grown man at a dance recital crying, watching this dance. And I just can't get this song out of my head. Like I just can't stop thinking about it. And it basically ended up developing like this whole program that we do, this kind of life coaching program came from this one song of this dance. But what I started thinking is like, everybody is just asleep. Like, and you see this this is why you bring people to the woods and make them walk for 24-hour stuff, right? Like everybody's asleep and we're going through life. We don't even know what we're doing, like why we're doing certain things. We're just doing it, or why we're picking up our phone, or why we're going to run this thing. We're just We're just doing it with we don't even know why we're doing it. And that's when I was sitting on that treadmill, running and watching these people, for a couple hours at a time. Just like you can tell they're driving here and there, and they have no purpose, no plan, nothing. And so I started thinking about the power of like awaking your soul, right? And I think we have to do certain things to awaken ourselves, and it doesn't have to be this huge deal either. It doesn't have to be a 100-mile race. It just needs to be 5 minutes. And this is a big staple of our company is we just try to get people to do 5 minutes a day of something intentional. That's it. Like, so like our exercise programs with our company, we do daily stretching routines, 5 minutes a day. Like don't do anything else. So just do that. And then, if you like to ride a bike when you're a kid, go ride a bike. Like I had a client that, was really struggling with a lot of stuff and find out like he loves Disney musicals and stuff like that. And I'm like, hey, just listen to Disney music on the way in. Like I never would have thought this guy liked Disney, but I'm like, listen to Disney music on the way to work for 5 minutes every day. And literally doing that set him on this path to like where he's a different person now.
Come on, man.
It's crazy. So I think we have to systematically, awaken our soul. And that could be doing things that you used to enjoy when you were a kid. Like it could be riding a bike. It could be climbing a tree. As silly as that sounds as an adult, you've got to wake yourself up. You've got to do something to get yourself out of that routine. And it doesn't have to be something crazy. Now, I think that can evolve over time where it does develop into 100-mile races and those things, because it's very empowering and impactful when you do these little things and you see the change. And so, we kind of developed like this 4-step process of basically like, hey, you have kind of this possibility phase, and we try to be real positive about the whole thing. Like, hey, it's, in a way, like you're not happy and and you have no plan. And that's actually a good thing. Like, like that's a starting point for you. Like you're doing nothing. So if you just do something right now, you're going to be happier than you are. Right. So we kind of have these 4 phases, like the possibility phase, just looking at what those possibilities for improvement are. And then there's kind of that awaken phase where you just consistently make yourself do something 5 minutes a day. And my wife's a great example of this. She always wanted to play guitar. And for Christmas, for 2 years ago, I got her guitar lessons at age 34, paid for her to take guitar lessons. And seeing her just learn that skill, you can just see the change in her, and she doesn't like to go run. She doesn't, all that stuff that I'm into. But for her, that is wellness, playing that guitar. And then for last Christmas, they had like a band program. And so she wanted to kill me, but I signed her up to be in this band program where they were going to perform at the very end. She's never, she used to do theater as a kid and stuff like that, but she's never been on stage, playing the guitar and singing in front of a group of people. And she, on St. Patrick's Day this year, she plays a concert at a little local bar, lead singer, guitar, and like, man, like I saw so much change in her life because of these small little things that she's doing. And when she goes and takes her lessons and stuff, like I can see that improvement. So that's kind of that awaken phase. And then we talk about, hey, then you kind of get to this transcend phase where you start becoming more of that person. You're maybe not all the way there, right? Like but you're taking those active steps. So maybe you've been moving every day. You've started walking or running or jogging, but you finally sign up for the 10K. I'd say that's kind of like that transcend phase, but you may do that 10K and then you don't run for a couple months after, right? You're not all the way there, but the highest form is, and we call this path, it's discovering your path, forging your path. The highest phase, the last phase is the habit phase, right? And you're there with your faith, and Blake is too, right? Like, and you're there with your fitness. You don't have to, you just want to do it because that's who you are. You're in union with Christ in this relationship. That's why you have a Bible sitting there. And that's why you have a theology book right there, right? Like that's just who you are now. But you had to intentionally make yourself do that for a period, I would imagine, and fitness and everything, right? But eventually it becomes you are, and that's kind of that highest phase. But it all started with that song. I was like, man, we're just so asleep in society. And so I think going back to like the phone and stuff like that, if systematically, unplugging from that it's going to waken you up. You're going to you're gonna start seeing changes happen, right? And so I'm a big believer in, and it's a lot of stuff that you preach too, but like, you have to systematically put yourself in tough situations and force yourself to succeed. Yeah. Just intentionally put yourself there. And it could, for some people, it could be as easy as, it was really hard. Running a 100-mile race was hard for me, but getting the internet off my phone was probably harder from a mental standpoint. Yeah. And so it can be something really small, can really waken you up.
Mm-hmm. Dude, that is such sound wisdom. I mean, that might be the most back to the basics, most foundational sound wisdom that we've heard on the podcast in 2023. And you know why, like, I forget to talk about this stuff like you just talked about, because that was so long ago for me. Yeah, I forget to talk about this stuff. I lose, you lose perspective on what the people who are in the very beginning stages of just desiring to wake up and make some changes, you lose perspective on what they are actually going through and what that's like for them, and then you can no longer help them.
Right.
And so that just happens over time. And yes, with my fitness, like I'm in that state where it is just who I am. Like I train every day with zero thought. It's just the habit. And I forgot about, like, when I first decided I wanted to go join the Navy and I had to learn how to run. Like, I forgot about going out and just running a mile and then, like, not being able to move the next day because my freaking shin splints hurt so bad. And, like, it was just miserable, man. And I'm so happy that you brought that perspective back into the conversation, because I think so many people need to hear that. If you're desiring to awaken your soul and you've recognized the fact that you are just mindlessly wandering through life, it starts with a 5-minute segment, intentional segment in your day. And it could literally be as simple as 5 minutes listening to Disney music, because that's what brings you enjoyment.
Yeah.
And that starts to change the trajectory, just maybe a half a degree. But when you're on this path and you change that trajectory just a half a degree, once you move 100 miles further than when you made that half degree change, you can't even see the separation in the path in the beginning, right? But 100 miles down the path is freaking miles apart. You know what I mean?
It's declination, right?
Yeah, it's miles apart. When I was in the Navy, we used to have these boats called Zodiacs, right? And we would do these long range transits in the Zodiac over open ocean called Over the Horizon. So you would travel further than you could see, the curvature of the earth. So these were long range legs. And you had a little board on your boat, and you had your heading or your bearing on that compass, right? And that long leg, man, if you were just half degree off, you would miss your daggone mark by miles. So, like, you got to think about that. That's that initial 5 minutes of intentional time. It's changing that trajectory by a half a degree and being consistent. And then that opens, that widens the spread between where you were going, which might not be good, which might be a waste of your life. What a shame that. How many people do you think, are going to lay in a hospital bed today and they know it's their last day? The doctor's done told them they feel their spirit is about to turn loose, son. It's their last day. And they're laying there thinking about that path that they went down and saying, man, I've wasted this life, man. That's terrible. That would be a terrible feeling, man. It doesn't matter where you're at in life. If you can just adjust that a half degree off, it's going to open the gap between where you're headed right now and where you could be going.
Yeah. Well,
it's freaking powerful, man.
And we call it for our company, Move Well, we call that Strive for 5. So our big thing is 5 minutes a day, 5 days a week. If you do that 5 minutes a day, 5 days a week, that's 20 hours and 40 minutes a year of something intentional. Like, think about it, like 20 hours, that's 2.5 work days of exercise if you do 5 minutes. Like, it's insane when you think about it. And usually what happens is that 5 minutes turns into 10, 15, 20, maybe it's later down the road, right? Like that 5 minute walk turns into a 30-minute walk. So really, I mean, just getting started, it's crazy when you think about it that small, and for me, I think that's where I was in my life. Like kind of getting into my story a little bit. I played baseball. My family's in baseball. My dad was a professional baseball scout. My brother played professional baseball. I played professional baseball. And when I was sitting on a picnic table in Arizona, April of 2010, crying because I just got released from the Padres, the minor leagues, didn't know what I was going to do with my life. And in retrospect, it really wasn't that long looking back, but it felt like a long time. I had 5-6 years where I just was and probably you a little bit getting out of the military. It's probably a similar, like, what am I? Who am I?
I'm still going through
that.
Yeah,
you're right. You identify so much with this image and like what you're going to be. Now being a little more mature in my faith, knowing like, hey, I was really putting that was where I was getting validation, was not through Christ, but it was through baseball, and if I had a good game and stuff like that, I thought I was proud of myself. If I didn't, then I was a terrible person or whatever. And so I realized now looking back, I had a lot of that identity stuff going on too with just my relationship with Christ. Like I was just putting it all on the wrong stuff. But I remember, finally after feeling sorry for myself for 5 years, and probably a lot of people on the outside didn't know that, my wife obviously saw me going through that and struggling and all those kind of things. And, but finally one day I was just like, I'm going to just try to do something different. And I had never run, consistently. I'd done some 5Ks and stuff like that. But I remember the power in just getting out the door and like waking up early. I never like woke up early other than when I had to for like baseball and stuff like that for early workouts, but I never on my own, like intentionally woke up early and got outside when it was cold and sleeting and tried to run or walk or whatever. But I remember just doing that. And then it was like, wow, it just I felt good about myself in a different, it was like in a new way. I was like, wow, I didn't know I could do that. I didn't know I could be one of those people that did that. You know what I mean? And then that just turned into more and more. And I started being proud of more of who I am, who I was. And then that kind of awakened other areas of my life. Then I started studying theology, and, it all kind of went together. It was kind of my own awakening, but it started again with like something really basic, was just like get up, set an alarm and get out the door, that, and just try to move your body.
It does all go together. Tech guy, will you turn that AC down a little bit, brother? It's getting a little warm in here, man. It all does go together, man. Like all of these, this whole, that's the whole foundation of 3 of 7 project, and the tagline, complete yourself. You can't focus too much on just the physical without focusing also on your mind, will, emotions, and on your spiritual self, right? Mm-hmm. In order to truly like feel, or at least strive toward this idea of being complete and having a wholesome life, it has to all go together. Mm-hmm. But it's also got to start somewhere.
Right.
It's got to start somewhere. So, you took a lot of, speaking of that, you talk a lot about your faith, Kevin, or at least I have heard a lot about your personal faith, and it was really impressive, or really, I don't know what the word is. It caught me off guard how at the Hot Rod Ultra, the event that you guys hosted the night before, and also the morning of the race, how you guys meshed body, soul, and spirit, the physical, the mental, and the faith aspect all into one event. That was really, really cool to see you execute that and to foster that type of environment. Because it's really, when you talk about ultra running, that's not normal.
Right.
Like ultra runner, you're supposed to be, the overarching view is pacifist, vegan, nature lover. I've seen people comment about me that this Chad guy's a conundrum. he's a ultra runner, a backpacker. He loves the environment and the woods, but he's also a Christian, and he loves his country, and he has these, strong opinions and stances, and so I want to hear a little bit more about how when did you give your life to Christ, and how has that journey been for you? Because obviously it sounds like, just from what you've talked about so far, there's been some growth along the way. So
yeah, so kind of had a untraditional upbringing too. So my dad was a professional baseball scout, and so we made a decision. My parents made a decision that they really wanted us to stay close as a family, and the only way you can do that. So my dad was gone all the time. Great, best dad in the world, still is the best dad in the world, but he was gone a lot, right? And he really wanted to be present in our lives, and so my mom decided to homeschool. And back in the early 90s, that wasn't too normal.
Yeah.
We homeschool our kids now, and there's all kinds of groups and different things that they can be involved in. There's a little bit of that when I was younger, but not a whole lot. And so I think right off the bat, I was a little untraditional, I think. And I think I've kind of carried that. And now I really appreciate that. And I feel like everything I do, correct me if I'm wrong, Logan, I feel like we're always unconventional in a little bit of everything we do, even as a company. But that was, it took a lot of faith from our parents to do that. And especially in the baseball world, that's very countercultural to be pro-family and Christian and all that kind of stuff. And, so I grew up going to baseball games. I grew up, sitting in major league clubhouses and talking to players. Like, that was normal for me. And looking back, I know it's not normal for hardly any kids that grow up, right? But my parent, I had great parents, I guess is what it comes back to. And they were willing to sacrifice a lot. My mom, I have two older brothers and a little sister. My mom literally just sacrificed everything. She was a stay-at-home mom. Dad's traveling all the time. Mom's homeschooling us. She's driving us an hour to Nashville 4 times a week to play baseball because there wasn't opportunities in Bowling Green. She's cutting the grass. She's doing everything, and she's making our faith a priority. Just unbelievable. And so I had a really good example from my parents of like putting God first. I grew up, and I still am Catholic. I'm Roman Catholic, and I grew up at church. I did all the church stuff, and and had a faith for sure as a kid. I wouldn't say like, I had this big moment later in life where I strayed off the path and I was crazy, and all of a sudden I turned my life around. Like, I didn't have that experience, but I think all that stuff was just kind of normal to me, and I knew God and I loved God, but it wasn't until I think there was just very key points in my life to where I started, I guess, where I gave myself to Christ totally. Right. Mm-hmm. I think for me, as a Catholic, we really do believe in the Eucharist, which is communion. We believe that God is truly present in that Eucharist. And, receiving my first communion as a kid, I don't think I realized the gift that I was receiving. And I think the Catholic Church has a lot of wisdom. And then when you're 14, 15, they call it confirmation, where you kind of reaffirm that decision, kind of make that decision yourself to, more consciously give yourself to Christ. Like the age of accountability. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of wisdom in that. And so, I was a good kid, I never really partied in college. I didn't go through those phases. Definitely not, but at the same time, I had stuff I was struggling with too, especially internally, that people didn't see, right? Mm-hmm. I wasn't perfect. I'm definitely not perfect now. That's for sure. But I remember there's a couple key points is, one, I remember going to college, and again, my identity's in baseball. That's how I, in a weird way, probably got validation from my dad. He never asked of that, never pushed sports on us, nothing, but I knew baseball was important to him. So of course I want to play and impress him too. I watched good athletes growing up. I wanted to be like them. And I remember I went to Louisiana Tech, so it was 12 hours from home. And I remember getting down there my freshman year, and I was a very shy introvert. Like, I could not have had this conversation publicly, when I was in college. I was very shy, introverted, struggled a lot socially. And I remember my freshman year, I wasn't playing. I was missing home. My wife, Amanda, we were dating. She was in Bowling Green. We're 12 hours apart. And then I started thinking for the first time, what happens if none of this like this baseball thing doesn't work out. Like I always just thought I was going to play in the big leagues. You know, that's what I was going to do. And then all of a sudden I'm like, hey, I'm not starting every game as a freshman. I'm not doing all this stuff. And I remember just weeping in the quad at our campus. And I don't think it was a moment where I gave myself to cry. I don't think I was like, God, I need you now. Like I really need you to take control. But I think it was the first time I realized like maybe all the stuff I was putting priority on wasn't going to fulfill me. That was like the first time. And that was kind of like the first step. And I think over time,
that's a beautiful moment, isn't it?
It is.
I had a similar moment in my life. Yeah.
Yeah. You realize like I can't do this myself.
Yeah.
And maybe that was me letting God in and giving my life to Christ. But I don't think I didn't make a decision at that point. I'd say that I just realized it was very humbling. So like, oh wow, like maybe this stuff I put priority on isn't going to last. And then, you know, I don't know. So I had a lot of ups and downs in college and stuff like that. But I think the biggest thing really for me, you know, I got released from baseball. I took a job working in physical therapy as a technician, the lowest position you could have at a physical therapy clinic. And I was doing laundry. I was, you know, wiping tables down after patients. Very not appreciative at all of that opportunity. Like I was like mad about it. Like, oh, I was an athlete. Now I'm doing this, and thought that I was above that. And it's so funny, like just because I played a stupid game, I thought I was something, and I didn't even make it very far in it. But in my head, I thought I was special, you know? And, I think where it really started changing, I ended up staying in that job for 5 years, and I was coaching. I took a high school coaching job because I was like, once I get done playing, I want to coach, and I want to be the youngest SEC coach in the country, and blah, 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 all this stuff. And I was coaching high school, and trying to just get that on my resume and trying to, you know, build that up. And I don't know that it was really till our daughter was born, Ava, our oldest. She's 8 years old now. So 8 years ago, I finally get offered my dream coaching job with the Houston Astros, a minor league coaching position in Florida. I'm about to sign the contract and move down to Florida. And, it just hit me like, you know, like spiritually, I've been in this environment. And it's the worst place I could be spiritually to be around that again. Family wise, I say I want to have this really strong family, but I'm trying to go into a career that's going to pull me away from my family and have all kinds of temptations out there and stuff that I don't really need to be around. And then to grow in that career, I'm going to have to see my family less and less to make more money to support my family. So when we had our daughter, I'll just be open. I was making $33,000 as a physical therapy technician. My wife was a teacher. She out-earned me as a teacher. She decides to stay home with our daughter, and we own a house. You know, we have a young child, and I'm like, what am I going to do? You know, and but it was also the most powerful thing that I think could have happened to me, because all of a sudden I had to figure it out. I had to man up essentially, right? Yeah. And I had to figure out a way to support them and actually practice what I preached, and like family and values and all this kind of stuff. And so I think I had multiple moments over the course of that to where I just started seeing things line up, you know, so I turned that job down. So I turned that job with the Astros down, and I'm just like, I'm going to be the best physical therapy technician I can be. I'm going to be the best towel folder. I'm going to be the best, you know, table cleaner, all this stuff. And God, like,
that's a big mindset shift, man.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yes. So like I started taking pride of, hey, there's smudges on this trash can. I'm going to get the stainless steel cleaner and clean that. I'm going to, you know, I'm going to pay attention to every little detail, and I'm going to give it all over to God at that moment, you know, and just see God, like, well, we've done our budget. We can't afford to pay our bills, but I feel like, and Amanda feels like, this is what we have to do as a family. And so we're going to put our trust in you. And I think, you know, seeing things actually line up in that work was a validation of like, wow, this is very real.
Yeah.
You know, like God does watch after us. He does have a plan. God does align the right people at the right time, the right opportunities. And I was doing baseball lessons after work to be able to pay our bills. So I get done at 5:00. We had a batting cage in our clinic, and our owner was nice enough to let me use that. I'd pull out the batting cage. Kids would come in the back door. I'd work till 8 or 9 o'clock at night, 4 nights a week. So I'm still in this like not seeing my family phase. And I was just praying, like, if there's a way I can replace this income and be home, like I'll like, just show me there's a way I can do this. And I was like trying to start a painting company, like this is stupid. I was just looking at anything I could possibly do. Right. And all of a sudden, I get a call from who my business partner now with this new company, like, hey, I need somebody to help me with this stuff. And I know you have a full-time job, but I want to pay you a retainer to help me with these projects. And the amount that he was paying me was exactly what I was making from doing baseball lessons and stuff like that. And so I was like, wow, and eventually that grew into this opportunity. And I it was 2017. I'm still with this physical therapy company. We got sold to a big hospital. And so at this point I'm switching roles, growing a little bit in my career. I'm starting to have a little bit more success, not, doing better, a little better financially, but seeing like there is some growth there as much as you can go with like a big corporation. And so I was in a cubicle sitting around, in an office where they did a lot of insurance billing. I was doing other functions, but I was in this big room with a bunch of cubicles. And I was like, this is not like what I want to do. Like to grow with this hospital, like I'm gonna have to wear the suit. I'm going to have to get an MBA. And I'm like, that's not what I want to do with my life.
Especially going from the baseball field, like doing that, like to that. Yeah, that would be tough, man.
But I wrote a thing called, it was 2017, and I wrote a thing called Vision 2020. And I just put on there all these things I wanted to happen by the year 2020. And, start a business, make X amount of dollars, have another child, have a plan for school for our daughter. Like I had a bunch of different things. I had personal, I had running goals, I had financial goals, I had faith goals. And having that in front of me, just seeing that every day, it was insane. Like how just seeing that, even though like a lot of days I wasn't working towards those, I didn't think, but just one by one, you just start knocking them off. And a big part of that was, putting God at the forefront and really trying to improve my prayer life. That was the biggest factor in those things happening is, and then taking time to actually listen to God. And I was talking to Blake about this last night, having, silence in my life, and being able to listen to where God's trying to call me to go. Mm-hmm. And so, I think through that, I just, a lot of growth in my faith, a lot of mess ups too, and a lot of backslides. So I'm so not a perfect person. I sin every day. I never want this to sound like I'm perfect, but I just started seeing myself improve. And that's when I really started growing my faith, when things got really, really hard, where I didn't know if it was going to work. And I just put a vision out there that I wanted, and then seeing those things actually happen really showed me that how when you pray, it actually works. Like God listens. Like I knew all those things. I knew they were true, but I never experienced them being true until then. Right.
Yeah.
And so I had just multiple moments. And then I think now I have certain times in my life where I feel God just really, I just feel his presence, and I discovered that through the Eucharist. And I know I listened to your last podcast about denominations and stuff like that. So I was talking to Logan. I was like, we might get a denominational talk here.
No, wait, look, I respect your belief system. I can do that. You know why? Because we both believe the gospel.
Right.
We both believe that God came in flesh, died because we are a bunch of screwed up creatures, right. And he loved us so much he wanted to reconcile us back to himself, that he was resurrected, and by way of his death we receive forgiveness, and by way of his resurrection we receive eternal life. That is what saves you.
Absolutely.
All right. That is what, if you believe the gospel, you know what? You can observe a holiday. You can eat a certain thing. You can do this. You can do that. You can do all these things. I'm cool with that, man. I'm going to rant about it. I'm going to talk mass crap on you. But look, you can do that because the foundation of the gospel is what is saving us, absolutely. Right?
Yep.
The faith that's being supplied to us through the Holy Spirit of Christ to believe in his gospel, his death, burial, and resurrection, that is what is saving you. All right? Absolutely. So I can totally respect that. I didn't mean to sidetrack you. I just had to give that caveat.
That's good. That's good. No, and I for me, I discovered that in the Eucharist. Like and I think as a Catholic, I recognize the importance of having a relationship with Christ. I think the Eucharist gives me intimacy with Christ, because if I believe that really is Jesus's body, that's his body, his blood, like that's a really powerful thing, right? And I can consume that, and I can have intimacy with Christ in that. And I think, my love, I have researched and I've doubted every aspect of Catholicism, and I've doubted every aspect of Christianity and the gospel at some point in my life. Like I've gone through all those phases in college where you're like, hey, is this even real? I'm out on my own. I had this kind of really perfect sheltered life where that's what I believe, but why do I believe it? I went through all of those things, but I never doubted the Eucharist. Like I never doubted his presence in that. And like when I read through John 6, like that's very real for me. And
are you speaking of, is this coming from where Jesus sits down with his disciples and says, take this bread, it's my body.
Yeah.
Take this wine, it's my blood.
Right. That. And then also like, John 6, there's many different discourses in there where they're going to speak, specifically where he's going to say, I think it's when he goes to Capernaum, I think it's like John 6:52 maybe. And he kind of doubles down on, this is before the Last Supper, essentially. And he kind of doubles down on, he starts saying like, hey, to truly, I say to you, I wish I had my Bible in front of me, but basically you must eat of my bread, my body, and drink my blood. And it says many disciples left him that day.
Isn't that an extreme thing to say?
Yeah, it's very extreme.
Isn't that a radical thing to say? No wonder they left him.
Right. And
Who says something like that, man?
And he doubles down on it multiple times. And then finally they all leave. And then Peter says, Jesus, this is a hard saying, but to whom should we go? Like essentially, like I don't get what you're saying. I'm Jewish. We can't drink blood. That's like totally unlawful. I don't get this, but I know, I recognize that you're the Son of the Father, and I'm going to follow you anyways. So, I would say read through it, but like a lot of our belief in the Eucharist as a Catholic is rooted in that John 6.
And in the Last Supper, when Jesus presents this bread and this wine to the disciples, doesn't he say, do this in remembrance of me? Is that okay? That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
Dude, I want to hit on a couple of things about what you just shared with us. And mainly I want to hone in on the fact that you highlighted much of your growth in your relationship with Christ came by way of seeing Christ work in you, in your life, in your family's life, because I think there is another topic that we don't discuss enough. I want everyone who's listening to understand, if you are maybe curious about the Bible, or you are curious about faith in Christ, and maybe you're even reading the Bible, or maybe you're studying who this Jesus is, right? If you get to the point where you decide, you know what, this is the route I want to go, when you choose to accept Christ, in that moment, I want you to understand you are not going to have it all figured out. There's going to be a moment where you're going to have to say, you know what? There are tons of parts of this that I'm struggling to believe in. I don't have it all figured out, but you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to accept Christ, right? That's going to be a moment for you more than likely. All right? You got to be cool with that. I just explained this to a dude the other day. He's been on Resurrected for the last couple of months, every single time, and he's searching, and I'm like, I had this conversation with him. I'm like, look, man, at some point you're going to have to make the decision to be obedient, and you're just going to have to say, I don't know, I don't have it all figured out, but guess what? I'm going to do what Christ asked me to do, and I'm going to trust that he's going to supply the rest of what I need when I take that step of obedience and accept him and allow him to come in and possess me. All right? Because this is why you can't understand. This is why you can't understand everything. This is why you can't wait till you think your faith is at this certain level, because there are things that you cannot understand until you receive the Holy Spirit of Christ. There are things that there are aspects of faith that there are things that you cannot believe in until you receive the Holy Spirit of Christ. So you will have to take this step, okay? After you take that step, it is a process. Kevin just described it very accurately. The process is, look, when you accept Christ, Christ has a plan for you as an individual within his body. He has a very specific purpose for you. He's going to lead you into that purpose. Leading you into that purpose isn't always going to look like things just working out right. A lot of times leading you into that purpose is going to look like pain, suffering, anxiety. You're going to be uncomfortable a lot of times, right? But you're going to see over time, when you look back to that day that you chose to take that step of obedience and accept Christ, you're going to look back over this span of time and you're going to say, holy smokes, how did I get to where I am today in my walk with Christ? This might be 10 years down the road, right? And through this whole process, this process is what is going to solidify your faith in Christ. He's taking you through this process in order to give you more faith. That's what you're talking about, looking back on that. And that's been the exact same experience for me. The things that have happened in my life since I accepted Christ are unimaginable, unfathomable. I could not have come up with them in my mind. I couldn't have possibly made them happen in any way, shape, or form by my own plans or whatever you call it. Like, I couldn't have planned it up. I couldn't have dreamed it up, right? This walk with Christ and the things that happen along the way are increasing and solidifying and providing the faith that you want at the beginning, but you can't have it at the beginning. You got to walk with him for a while, son. You got to watch him work. You got to see him work. You got to pay attention. And you have to let him use you. Regardless if that means you're living under a freaking bridge somewhere, or you make this connection with somebody that totally changes the trajectory of your life. I don't know what it's going to look like. But that's the way it works, man. Y'all don't freaking understand that, man. Everybody, all of us, it goes back to the fitness thing you were talking about. People think, boy, you got, look, man, all this stuff is laws of just how things work. You ain't going to have nothing figured out when you first start.
Yeah.
I thought that was a beautiful example of what that looks like.
Well, and I think too, once you're in that for a while, then you start seeing, like I said, you start feeling and seeing and understanding and seeing things you didn't see before. And I've told this story before, but 2 years ago, I had a big meeting for work, and I was, really nervous about it and all this stuff. And it was 3 hours away in Paducah, Kentucky. And there's a Land Between the Lakes there, and there's a really nice trail, the LBL Canal Loop Trail. They do a 50-mile race out there and stuff. And I went out there. I had a little time before, so I went out there to run before, just kind of clear my head and stuff. And it's like February, but it's really warm. It's like 75 degrees, like one of those like really kind of odd warm days in February. And I'm running on this trail, and it's single track, a lot up and down. Like, usually I'm 9-minute pace, 9.5, and I'm just flying today. I'm going like 7.5-minute pace, and I'm like running up the hills and like not breathing hard. I'm like, what is, it's like something, you're kind of noticing like something's different, and I don't know what's happening, but it's like that flow state or whatever that runners talk about, and all of a sudden I could like it was probably the most intense spiritual moment of my life. And I'd say if I've had one experience, this would be the one. And I can like see the vision like that God's laying out for me. I can like almost like I can like see the exact path in front of me for what he has for my life. I can see these things happening. I can see my daughter doing certain things when she's 20. Like I can feel all of this. I can see it. I can feel it. And I get to this overlook over the lake, and it's just this kind of couple hundred feet up overlooking this huge lake. There's no one out here in this park. And all I could think about is how little and how I'm nothing. Like I am absolutely nothing compared to Christ. I am so small, but enjoy that, like having freedom in that and realizing like, yeah, like everything I'm doing in my life, like none of this is from me. I'm not doing anything I've ever done, anything I'm going to do, that's any good is not from me at all. It's all from God. And just realizing that, and like the humility that came from that was just overpowering. And I literally like, and I just want to think like, I'm nothing. I just kept telling myself like, I'm nothing. And like in a good way, you know, I think our society always says that's bad to do. Right. Like,
it's everything in the Bible is the antithesis of what society's telling
right.
you.
Like society's going to tell you like, oh yeah, you're great. You're this, you're perfect. You're this. Like, no, I'm not. Like, I'm not perfect. And I'm not like, I don't want to be the same person now that I am in 20 years from now. Like, I want to be changing. I need to change. You know, I'm not a perfect person, and realizing the power in that and understanding that. And I literally like laid in the dirt and laid down and just started covering myself in dirt. Like this sounds hippie and all this stuff. I'm not one of those people. I don't do that. But it just felt like that's what I was supposed to do in that moment. Like I was supposed to just cover myself in dirt and just scream and just like feel that power of God, like that just overwhelming humility of, man, like I can't do anything in my life on my own without you. And I am nothing. And I almost want to feel like nothing in this moment, you know?
Yeah.
And literally I'm just like covered in dirt, screaming at the top of my lungs. And it was the most powerful feeling in the world to understand that, wow, like I think that was the first time in my life. And that's probably the most spiritual moment I've had where I, you know, of like, no, there's nothing I can do, you know.
But it took you a long journey to be ready for that.
Exactly.
That's the thing, man.
Yeah.
You want all of this stuff, but you're not ready for it.
Right.
Like you have to understand that. Like okay, again, this is another thing that is just how things work. This is just the process. We talk a lot about the process. The point of the process is to build you or forge you into the vessel that is ready to receive what is there to receive. Okay? Because you can't receive what you want in the beginning because it would destroy you.
Yeah.
This is the same in my business life. Like if I would have received the amount of what do you want to call it? Influence or visibility, or if I would have had access to a platform of this size 3 years ago, it would have destroyed me. I wasn't ready for it. God had to take me through a process of continuously conforming me more and more into the likeness of his image before I could even receive what he had for me in the future. It would have destroyed me. I feel so bad. I told Blake this the other day. I genuinely feel bad for the most recent example is this guy like Oliver Anthony that wrote the song Richmond, North of Richmond. And overnight, he goes from, you know, who he is that day when he went to sleep, and literally overnight, he's being invited to be a guest on the largest podcast platform in the world. And it's like, I really feel for that dude, man, because that can now hopefully he has a solid enough foundation in Christ to handle that. But you're not going to get what's coming until you're ready for it. I just believe that. Yeah, you cannot skip the process. And people that I see that get thrust into these scenarios where they're not allowed to go through the process to get them to where they need to be when they're sitting in the seat that they're sitting in. I pray for these people, man. Like, because at that point, it does take supernatural ability to be able to handle that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you look at anybody that's won the lottery and look at the statistics of where they're at now. So they get a lot of money. They're not ready for it. You know, I believe a lot of people give their kids phones too early. You know, you can't give a Corvette to a 16-year-old. You can't give so all of these things, it's just life. You have to mature incrementally to the point to where you could handle something that is.
And this is a ongoing process. What the Lord has for me in 20 years, if he dropped it on me right now, it would destroy me. Now, whether that is extreme pain and suffering and grief, or whether that is great success and I'm sitting at the head of a nation, on either spectrum, if he dropped it on me right now, it would destroy me.
Right.
I accept that.
Yeah.
This is a continual process that doesn't end until the literal day that you die.
Yeah.
And I would just want to share, like, hearing Kevin speak, and I've been very transparent with Kevin about, I feel like I'm kind of in that, I just have kind of started turning my.
I wanted to hear from you, by the way, Logan.
Yeah.
Because I know you're in a different place.
Yeah, and so I feel like, I'm 20. I just turned 27, so I'm just now kind of hitting some milestones in my life. But I think Kevin has been a huge influence and like a guide in like my walk with God that is still very recent to me. And I think some moments that I've had in my life that I haven't really recognized until now that he's weighed down on me was after college. For about 3 years, I struggled with a pretty severe eating disorder, and nobody knew about it. And I remember one night I was at work. I was working at a pharmacy, and I just had this. It's almost like that pressure you feel when you toe a starting line you talked about, and you have so much pressure because you're about to endure a lot of things, but you're gonna see it through. And it felt so similar to that. And I'd never run an ultra before this, and I was all this pressure, and I was like, what is going on right now? And it was this pressure of like, I need to tell somebody about this, like that I'm struggling because I can't do this anymore. And so I remember asking.
But you knew when you told somebody, like, you felt the weight of what was going to happen after that.
And I had no clue. I didn't know what it was going to look like.
Yeah.
And I remember I asked my boss, I said, I'm not feeling good. Can I go home? And she was like, yeah, that's fine. I walked straight into the apartment, and at the time, my wife and I were engaged. We were about to get married, and I just broke down. I'm like, I've got to tell you this. This has been a struggle of mine, and I don't know why, but I need to tell you right now. And I remember in that moment just thinking, how the heck? What is this going to look like? I'm never going to be able to feel normal again with food or with my mental state. Nothing is going to feel normal ever again. And I remember I just had this, I'm like, I just need to get to tomorrow. Like, tackle the day, and then the next, and the next, and the next, and the next. And then I'm looking back, I'm like, holy crap, that's been 3 years ago that I've addressed this thing. And then, I start running ultras, and I commend a lot of that process of like this recovery from this eating disorder to my mental strength now and looking back, I'm like, what was that? That was God, dude. Like, that was 100% like him telling me this is going to suck. But you just wait. And I feel, there's so many things in my life that I'm like, man, this is pretty cool. I'm like, that didn't just happen, man. Like,
are you just realizing that in this conversation?
I think that it's kind of
because we've not had that conversation.
Yeah, and I think it's just now really kind of weighing on me. Like, maybe that's what that was, but I've never really said it out loud. And I think that
cool.
Maybe I didn't. Maybe I'm like, oh, that was too small scale to have been a God thing. But that was a huge moment that has like led me to where I am now. And then you mentioned, like, I think God aligns the right people at the right time, and I think that's what happened with us. With like growing this company and just being a presence with one another. But yeah, I mean that's something that I'm still kind of going through and navigating right now with my walk with God. And I think there's been those moments that have just like compounded and led me to where I am now.
Well, that gives great perspective on the other part of this conversation.
Yeah,
is that the process actually starts or begins before the moment that you submit yourself to Christ.
Yeah.
Because all of this starts with Christ wanting or choosing you. Now, we won't go down the theological rabbit hole of how that works, but there's biblical evidence that you, Logan, have obviously been chosen by your Creator. He wants you for some odd reason. I don't know why the crap he wants any of us. But that process begins before we even take the step of obedience in allowing him to be our everything, to literally possess us. So that just brings us right into the whole other side of this, how the process began long before. Some of you guys are in the process right now listening to this podcast, and you haven't accepted Christ, and you think that you still, I don't know about all this. You're in the middle of the process right now. Whether
you can't stop it.
You
either.
can't stop it. You can't stop it. It's unbelievable, man.
Yeah.
It really is. Thanks for sharing that, Logan. I love that. I want to talk about, you talked about your past professional life, and I want to talk about what it's like when, especially with a family, with children, responsibility, in your middle age, stepping out and saying, man, I'm gonna start something brand new.
Yeah.
Like, I want the listeners to hear this, man, because I think there are a lot of people, I know there are a lot of people that are listening to this show that have something that they're passionate about, they have something that, keeps them up at night. Yeah. They're passionate about it, right? But they just can't wrap their mind around leaving that thing that they are doing, that they find no enjoyment in, that some of them hate it. Some of them, it's destroying them. But they just can't wrap their mind around leaving that to go out and do what it is that they are probably genuinely created specifically to do.
Yep.
And so I want to hear about that journey from you. How, like, the tension in that and how you overcame that tension. Because not only did you start this journey with MoveWell at the point in your life where you have tons of responsibility, you have a past professional life, you're established in this, this job, you step out of that, but you step out of it in a really weird time too.
Yeah.
So talk to me about that journey, man, and in no specific order. I mean, I just want to hear about it.
It's funny, like, hearing you say that. I guess looking back, that was probably a big leap, but it didn't feel like it so much at the time, maybe. Like,
how so? I mean,
I don't know. Like,
there had to be a day that you went into the PT office and said,
but I think I was really systematic and like really did this took, just to be able to leave, it took me about almost 3 years of working towards this.
Okay. That's a good word.
And so it took a long time. And so, I turned that baseball job down, started improving, had that relationship where I was able to get that retainer and make a little extra money. And then those conversations started with that same person who's my partner now. And it took us 3 years to get to where I could leave. So, I think I did a lot of due diligence there.
This is another thing. Listeners, you heard what he just said? Took him 3 years. Blake, how long did it take you to come over full-time at 307 Project?
Yeah, it was right about 3 years.
About 3 years. All right, listeners, pay attention. That's the cost.
Yeah, I didn't just walk in one day like, you know what, I quit, I'm going to go start a business. I think that's what people think you have to do to start a business, but if you do that, your business isn't going to last because you're obviously not very smart, right? So I think, I had a lot of stuff in place to where I felt like, I kind of through that what I was working on that retainer was basically growing a book of business, so I could leave and start a business. So we had some revenue coming in.
So you're pulling double duty.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm working 40 plus hours with one job, and then also doing a lot with this other job at home at night. There was a lot of 2 a.m. working. I mean, it was a long period of doing that. A lot of ups and downs. There was periods where like maybe this isn't going to happen. I should just go back. And then when you feel like God's calling you to do something, I still feel that way sometimes. Like, God, this is really hard. Like, do I want to do this? And I feel like, no, this is what He's ordained for my life, and I don't have a choice. Like, I have to do it. So I finally leave. And I think the biggest part was surrounding myself with really good mentors and having a lot of conversations. I mean, literally Wednesday this week, I drove 4 hours to Indianapolis to somebody that I sought out. That's a CEO, founder of a company. And I was like, I just blasted him with emails until he finally responded and said, can I just spend 3 hours with you? And literally drove there 4 hours, walked with him. We took a walk and talked, and I drove back, because I think that's really important. So I talked to enough people like, hey, you've got this job, PT, that's owned by this big hospital system, and you may feel safe in that, but you're not safe. Like that's a false security you're feeling. And so people that are, all that stuff can be taken from you in a second. So if you have this safe job with a government pension, we know we can't rely on the government for anything, right? And that could all be taken away. So, this job that you're staying in for 30 years so you can get this retirement, that's good, but it's not going to change it's not life-changing retirement money. You're just getting by. Like that could also just be taken from you,
Yep.
So I had enough wise people telling me that, like, hey, even though you feel safe with this certain job you have, like, you're not safe and you're not really going to be able to do what you want to do with your life. And I think that was, actually met some of those people. So the Curbside Ministries, the Sheldon family that, that they really mentored me through that process, and so I think, I was able to surround myself by a lot of really good people that I trusted. But I was able to leave March 1st of 2020. We have Everly, our second daughter, March 5th of 2020, March 12th of 2020, or somewhere around there. The whole world shuts down, and everything we do is for companies. So, I can't go on site. I can't go on site to companies because COVID shut down the world. But luckily, my partner was nice enough and was able to, he didn't give up on this, and I was okay financially through that process. But what's amazing now is looking back, one, I would have been at that hospital COVID testing people. I would have, it's just crazy to think what I was able to avoid. But also it gave me time with my family that I've never really been able to have. I was able to be home a lot with my brand new daughter. Never had that much time since then with my family, but it also gave me time to be creative. And I think that was the biggest blessing is I had nothing that I needed to do for work because there was no work to do hardly. Like there was I couldn't go out and get business because these businesses, the HR and safety people that I typically deal with at businesses, they were trying to figure out how to control COVID. Like they had a million other things they were worried about. They weren't worried about Kevin Winn trying to start a business. That's for sure. So in that craziness, I couldn't sleep because I was working. So I couldn't, all I could do was just think. And all this like ideas my brain was just going crazy with ideas. And, what we were trying to do before had nothing to do with a mobile app I'm not a tech person. I don't know how to write code and I don't know apps and all that stuff, but I realized like to do what we want to do, we have to do that. And we can't deliver a product like everybody else is doing because what everybody else is doing, we're a corporate wellness company is what we are. So we're a corporate wellness company. Most corporate wellness programs don't work. And there's a lot of BS behind them, to be honest with you. Like when we start talking about wellness, you can go down a million rabbit holes with wellness, right? What's wellness and what's not. But the biggest thing is like they don't work. And for something to work, you have to have a team of people to help you because these individuals that we were talking about earlier that are going through life asleep, not awake or not aware, they need somebody to help them because they're not going to do that on their own typically. Some people do, but for the most part, they need somebody to help them. So we're like, how can we create a product that delivers the right people to help them? And so we're like, hey, can we connect people with physical therapists, with dietitians, with personal trainers? Can we create engaging content? That's where Logan comes in. Logan's our content guy. He just started working for us in December of last year. So we went several years where, I was everything. I was the content guy. I was the film guy. I was the podcast. I was all of that. But, even from the name of the company, Move Well, like I was trying to, it started with like, hey, I want to call it a movement, something cool. And Move Well, there's like a million people, movewell.com, like that's not going to exist. So I'm like, I need to spell it differently. So MUUV, and that was available, so I got that domain. I was able to, name the app that and trademark that. And, but I was like, I need something like this needs an acronym, and no one even knows what the heck that stands for. No one ever asked me what it stands for, but I was like, I couldn't sleep one night. I was up all night thinking about an acronym for Move Well. I was looking at Latin words, and what could this mean? And literally at 3 a.m, my wife Amanda rolls over and says, "Motion, uninhibited, unified, and vibrant." Like just blurts it out in the middle of the night. I write it down.
Yeah, you better write that down.
Yeah, it's again, it's like one of those God things. Like, wow, okay. So it gave us time. So really for a year we had, minimal revenue.
I love that. I love that part of your story, man.
Yeah.
That right there, like that moment, like, you know why I love that part of that story so much is because it's so relatable to us and our part of our story at 307 Project. It really is. Coming up with the name and the brand and the logo.
Yeah. I made the logo. It's like, like Cricut that you make t-shirts on. Like, I don't know. It's like it prints out. Like my wife had one of those. I don't know how to use Photoshop or anything. I literally created the logo on a Cricut machine, and it's still our logo. And it's funny when somebody came up, this high level CEO came up to us the other day and was like, "Man, I really love your branding, your logo." And I'm just like laughing inside because like I made that at 2 a.m. on a Cricut machine.
It's just so
hilarious.
But it's so amazing too that you're trying to figure out what this thing means.
Yeah.
And your wife just blurts out the meaning of it.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
So again, that goes back to one of those things like that shows you God's real, right? Like that, where does that come from?
So we when we were developing 307 Project, we were thinking 307. 307, by the way, it sounds ridiculous. It's become a thing though. But like in the beginning, it's like we're thinking about this. I'm on a podcast with Marcus Luttrell. He stops the podcast for a break. He opens up his Bible, and out of nowhere, nobody knew about 3 of 7. Nobody, it had not been discussed at all. Out of nowhere, he starts reading Ezekiel 37, the valley of the dry bones. Yeah. All right? And God bringing life to this, to the just dry bones and putting flesh and and building up this army out of dry bones. Ezekiel 37. For no reason. The Joker just reads the whole thing out of freaking nowhere. And I'm like, he gets done and I'm just like, Roger that, man. Like that's where that was like this confirmation. 3 of 7 Project, the bones forming the logo, right? I don't know, man. I just think it's relatable to how the meaning behind this name that you had came about through this revelation being supplied by your wife.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just
wild, I always say
man.
Amanda's like the wisest. I mean, she really is the wisest person I know. And, she just does that. And it's funny when you're wise, you don't know you're wise. She's always like, I don't, I was just, I was like, so yeah, again, just blurts that out. And that made a lot of sense to me, right? Because I'm like, okay, like basically you just got to get moving. You got to get started. And when you get started, then you have this free, uninhibited movement, motion, and like, what you can do in life, like and then you start looking at like a company for wellness. Like when you get a couple people doing that, it's contagious. Mm-hmm. When you have Joe on the line working next to you that's lost 50 pounds and he's packing his lunch, and you see him go for a walk at lunchtime, like that's going to affect people. Man. And then it's such a vibrant thing, right? Like, and that's something you can't really like. You can't measure that. Like it's one of those like intangible things, like, but you know it and you feel it and you know it's true. Kind of like God, right? Like you know it's true, but you can't you can't measure that. You can't test that. You can't. And I was like, oh wow. And so we start this. I have no idea what the heck I'm doing. We don't even really know what the program is.
You mean you didn't have it all figured out?
No, I still don't have it figured out. We did.
But you started it anyways, huh?
Yeah. So like the original stuff I was doing was so different. Like I was kind of my training and background, and this is how I kind of grew at that PT clinic was I saw a niche and a need to go out to companies and like, I always say it's kind of the boring stuff we do is like go write job descriptions for HR professionals and like that state what the job is, but they look at all the physical components of that job. And then we create tests that they come to a clinic to go through before they can get the job to show that they can physically. It's kind of like going through a
physical standards test.
Yeah, but for a factory worker or whatever. That's what I started to do. That's why I left my job. We were going to do a lot of those, and that's what thought I was going to be doing. And we still do some of that. We still do that. But like this whole other wellness program, that's what I'm passionate about. And that's what I realized I loved about baseball. It wasn't like I loved playing baseball so much. I love seeing people improve. That's why I love coaching. Like I loved helping people. I love seeing somebody that, you know, we could go down to the batting cage and work for 2 hours and all of a sudden he hits a home run and it's like his life changes. And I realized like I always will love sports and I love the competitive nature of sports. But what I loved about coaching and playing baseball was helping people and seeing them improve. And then I realized, wow, I can do this on a much bigger platform with people like athletes. They're generally pretty motivated people, right? Like you can only you can't help an athlete a whole lot be healthier. Like they're going to do that. They're pretty motivated on their own. But somebody that's totally disengaged with life, that's going through a hard time, like doing the 12-hour shift and
they're grinding.
They're grinding.
Yeah.
And that is a hard phase. And even for me, like I'm doing what I love, but it's still hard. Like having a young family, it's hard. And I realized like I can impact so many more people this way, but I still didn't really know how to do it. I just knew we could do like some kind of remote PT and stuff like that. So it took us a couple years. We really didn't, we were doing that other stuff, the more non-sexy side of the business and creating revenue and supporting it, but it was still just me. And for 2 years, I was just doing that on my own, but trying to create this app. And we were like, looking back, I was like, man, I'm not doing all the right sales stuff. Like I should have done a beta test and, got people's input, see what they like, what works, done research, didn't do any of that. I was just trying to sell it. And so the first company that we pitched to, I had a person, Kyle Balliot, that you probably met at the Hot Rod Ultra, but he was basically working for me for free, just passionate about what we were doing, saw the potential in it. And Kyle and I were going to companies, pitching an app to some big companies in this wellness program. And we didn't even have an app. We literally had screenshots and we had a demo of something that we slapped our logo on. And because we didn't have any money to start it, so we needed somebody to buy it. So we literally were doing that. But now looking back, I'm like, that's the best beta test I could have done, right? Is talk to the decision makers and see what they like and what they don't like.
Yep.
And then through that, we were able to kind of adapt our product to kind of find what was needed and then also just kind of learn what we were doing more. And finally, we got to where, and we're still improving, but we got to where we developed a product that was pretty cohesive and effective, in my opinion. And so really it was 2022, May of 2022, finally hired our first full-time employee. So it took us 2 years. So it was 2 years of me grinding and praying and not thinking it was going to work and going through COVID and all those ups and downs and not being able to talk to people. But looking back, that was the best time for me because I was able to develop something. And like you said, I wouldn't have been ready to have a bunch of customers right away.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know enough about business. I didn't know enough about leadership. Didn't have a great product. I wouldn't have been able to do it then. And so,
5 total years, you're hiring your first team member.
Yeah.
Okay.
Finally hire him. He's still with us. And again, huge, and Wade, who I'm talking about, Wade Weatherholt, and just so critical to our operations. And he basically worked for free for a year. Like he left a really, really good job directing a whole hospital system, PT. He had like a top of your career as a physical therapist job at 28. Walks away from that, and literally made the decision when he's in the delivery room with his wife having their first kid, and he tells her after they get settled down, like, I'm going to quit my job and go work with Kevin. Like, it was a big deal, and took a cut in pay and everything. Kyle Balliot had been working for free for almost 2 years with me. We were able to kind of hire him at the same time, and really out of us three kind of grew and grew. So we now have 8 full-time people. We have 4 part-time people, still growing, but working with a lot of companies now, having a lot of success, and really like, seeing people change their lives. And that is so impactful, like to be like, whoa, like this thing that I thought of in the middle of the night, 2 a.m. and that I dreamed about and all this, I can see now like all of my life experiences. And that's what I was experiencing on that trail run where I covered myself in dirt. I could look back and say, oh, that's why this thing happened when I was 18. That's why I had this connection here. That's why I struggled with this.
Yep.
That's why, it all made sense. It all came together. And I think
that's why I made that mistake. That's why I did that stupid thing. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. It all lined up. And I'm like, it was building to this, and so I think also like, if you listen to podcasts or listen to the wrong podcast to say about business, you think I'm gonna start this thing, I'm gonna get rich, I'm gonna a year I'm gonna be hitting it, I'm gonna be working 80 hours a day and then or 80 hours a week, and then all of a sudden in 6 months we're gonna be making $1 million. Like, it doesn't happen. For some people it can, but generally that's not the story. And I think there's power in the time where it's not happening. There's power in the time where it's really hard and where you're not having the revenue and everybody's doubting you, but in your heart, like, it can work. Like, there's a lot of power in that. And I think I'm so grateful for those 2 years of where we didn't know if it was going to work, but we were all just hustling and trying to make it work. And we're still young. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, we're nowhere where we want to be. Our product's got to get better. Like, we want to help more people. We want to work with more people. But I think now we're seeing like, okay, yeah, this thing does work. Like, we're on to something. And now all that time that we struggled and did all this stuff, it was for this. And
it works because of that time.
Yeah.
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 And because you didn't choose to just quit and go back to what everyone told you was, well, everybody views as safe, but it's not really safe.
Right.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, man, there's so much freedom in that. And there's a lot of stress in this too. And I know for you all too, like, there's stress. And when you're starting and you feel like you're exposing your soul. Like, when you start a business, especially something that's not like a franchise, right? Like, it's your brand. It's your, like, 3 of 7 is you. That is Chad and Blake. Like, that is you guys. So every time you do something, you're just exposing more of yourself and your soul, and you're putting it out there for criticism. That's really hard, And so,
I think a lot of people do struggle with that. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. That's key, man. That is so key. And that's something I want to tell people right now. If you're that person that is constantly critiquing other people who are putting themselves out there through their brand, through their business, whatever it may be, and you're the person that's constantly critiquing them, I want you to take just a minute right now. This is an exercise for you, viewer, listener. I want you to take just a minute right now to think about if you changed your life to the point that you chose to openly broadcast all of your thoughts, your dreams, and your intentions, your mistakes, your past, all of those things. If you chose to broadcast those openly to the world, for the world to view, how do you think that would feel? Just think about that as you sit back and you critique people that are doing exactly that. People that are doing that, yes, they make mistakes. Me, yes, I make mistakes. But I've made the decision to openly broadcast my mistakes, my dreams, my intentions, my faith, my personal life, my thoughts. And I do the best I can. And I take the responsibility seriously. But I want you to think about how that would feel and how that would be different for you compared to how you're living your life right now. And the reason I want you to think about this is because maybe it will give you a little more grace to people. All right? Now, I'll critique people every now and then. I can honestly say this, I have never left a comment on a public platform bashing someone who's on that public platform, sharing their thoughts or pouring out their heart or expressing themselves. This just is, you have to think about the shoes that person is in. You know what I mean? All right. I just wanted to put that out there. I felt like we need to do that exercise every now and then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to hit on something that you said earlier too, Kevin. You talked about, so we're talking about this journey of stepping into that thing that keeps you up at night, which Kevin gave a literal example of stepping into this thing that was keeping him up at night and that he really felt passionate about and he knew was fulfilling him, of helping these people grow that don't have access to the things that he's providing. I mean, you're talking about you're working, I heard you say you were working with linemen. I mean, what a group of people. These guys have a freaking hard, physically demanding job. And for them to have a resource like you're providing is like going to give them not only a lot more enjoyment at work, but it's going to change their entire life because it's going to give them longevity, hopefully.
Yeah.
Right? So you're talking about changing people's lives, man. One thing you said is you were kind of intentionally forced into this period of time where you allowed yourself to be creative. And I think this is another thing. This is a key thing that I'm guilty of and that people can't get through their head. When you want to go and do something like Kevin's talking about doing, but it can be whatever. Yes, it's going to take you 3 years before you're able to transition out of whatever it is you're doing. Yeah, it's going to take you 5 years until you're actually able to start making a decent paycheck. You're going to have to work a lot of time for free. You're going to have to do all that. You know all that, right? But I think a lot of people don't understand that creative aspect, man. People don't allow themselves to be creative. One, because they're afraid how people are going to respond to their ideas. Two, I think people think they have to follow a playbook, but the playbook doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. So early in business, I caught myself doing something like asking people what they That's wrong.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Most people don't know what they want.
Right.
Right?
They know what they want. They don't know what they need.
If you see this opportunity, be creative and provide what it is you were created to provide and do a good job at it, and it's going to work.
Mm-hmm.
But don't think that somebody's going to come along and tell you exactly how to do it or what needs to be done, because that is the creativity aspect. I just started a new show on YouTube. I just started a new channel, Chad Rite 278. The first episode will drop on Sunday. It's literally me with a camera taking you along with me in my daily life. It's my personal life. Like you might see me. The first episode has a scene in me freaking screwing a TV stand to the wall. Like, that's all it is. But I'm feeling led because people watch these truck talks, man, and they think I'm just some fired up. They hear me on the podcast. They think I'm always just fired up, crazy freaking dude. They don't know anything about me.
Yeah.
They'll never know the fullness of my life because they don't live with me, right? But I'm feeling led to show people, hey, no, there are plenty of times in my life where I'm doing stupid, mundane things. There are plenty of things in life that I get, actually the things in life that I get the most enjoyment out of, you guys don't even see. So I want to show people that. Now, I don't know how people are going to receive that, but I think it's necessary in order to, if I'm going to sit in this chair, like, I want you to know who I am, man. I want you to know who you're listening to.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I want you to know who you're freaking listening to. And it's my responsibility to show you who I am so that you can know and trust, hopefully, who you're listening to. All right? So I'm going to put this show out, man. A lot of creativity went into this.
Yeah.
Trust me, I spent all day yesterday in a creative mindset creating this first episode. A lot of creativity went into it because I think it's needed. I think I'm feeling led to do this. I have no idea if anybody will watch it, but who cares?
Yeah.
I'm going to do it anyways. I'm going to continue to be creative and continue to pursue it. So allow yourself to do that, man. It's key.
Well, I think
in my opinion.
I think through that's when you discover. Well, that's how you awaken, and that's how you discover who God created you to be. Is
Yes.
You got to let God work.
Thank
right?
you.
And if you follow this, I think our society, and there's a reason why we homeschool too. I think there's this thing we lay out, and we think everything's got to be structured and set up this certain way, and it just kills creativity if you fall into that, and it kills innovation. And so you've got to allow yourself to get outside of that, and it's scary and it's vulnerable. But if you want to do anything that matters, you're going to have to do it, right?
Man, that's the truth.
Yeah.
So,
And Sunday, when that episode drops, you might look back a year, 2 years from then, and you're like, glad I did that.
I'm glad
Like,
and I hope so, man.
yeah.
I hope so. What an amazing mission, dude. What an amazing mission that you guys have.
appreciate it.
It just, I don't know, man. It really inspires me that you guys are out there doing the job that you're doing, bringing this resource to people who desperately need it. And I truly believe that what you're doing is going to literally change the long-term outcome of many, many individuals' lives. And the fact that you're able to get into corporations, which, man, corporate is so screwed up. Like, corporate is just screwed. Corporate does not care about their people. And for you to be able to work your way in and provide a resource that actually cares about the people, like, come on, corporate people, come on, man, you act like you care about your people. You don't really. You care about the bottom dollar. You care about, and you have to care about money. You have to care about productivity because those things have to happen. But ultimately, you should care the most about the person because that's going to drive the money and the productivity, right? But they've got it all freaking backwards, man. And for you to be able to work your way in there and provide and make these individuals, and a lot of them doing very difficult jobs that require you to grind. I think of these linemen, they're out here working these crazy hours and they're beating their bodies up, and for you to be able to provide this resource to them that's going to make them not only better at work, but better at home for their family is a tremendous mission, man.
And I think one of the things we're trying to do now is and Logan's seen me going through this, is a lot, obviously we're Christian, all of us are Christians, and everything we do is Christian, but I don't know that we've done a great job of being open about that. So, it's funny that you talked about the Hot Rod Ultra and like how that meshed. That's kind of a newer thing, right? Like, in me praying before the race, like, that was scary for me. I've never done prayed in front of a group of ultra runners that probably most of those people might not be Christian. I don't know.
Well, good Lord, I hope they didn't come to the speech the night before.
You were fired up. It was awesome.
Yeah, we got great feedback on that, actually.
We actually did. Yeah. I have not heard a negative thing from that. But what a cool thing if they weren't, right? If they weren't Christian and they heard that, like, maybe the God was, that was probably the perfect thing for them to hear. But, what we want to do a better job now is just be more open about that. And because the ultimate wellness program is use your faith in Christ.
Yeah, man.
Right?
Come on, brother.
So one of the things I'm announcing this publicly now, we haven't announce this public, so now we got to do it, Logan. Is we're going to start a thing called Common Ground, and so that event venue that we were at, they're going to allow us to use this a few more times over the year. To basically what we're going to do is like an interdenominational. So hey, let's, we've got Methodists and Presbyterians and Catholics and whatever out there, but like you talked about earlier in the podcast, we all share the same thing, which is our faith in Jesus Christ and our salvation through Him. And so
yeah, let's meet at the cross, man.
Yeah. So what we want to start is a program called Common Ground every quarter. We don't want to be a church, we're not trying to do that, but we just want to come together and celebrate what we do have in common. And so that's something we're working on for the new year that MoveWell is going to sponsor and put on. And, we're not going to make that a part of our wellness program to corporations, but if somebody's using that, we're not going to be shy about what we're doing. And if they want to come watch or listen or whatever, we're going to do that. So that's one of the things we're going to live stream and really just again, celebrate what we have in common, praise, worship, and just use it as a night to come together, because I think there is so much division in Christianity, which is really a shame, right? We all should be working together.
Isn't it funny, man? At the foot of the cross, that's common ground, ain't it?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, kneeling before the cross of Christ, man, that's common ground right there.
Yeah, yeah.
Man, well, I encourage you to lean into that, because you're a powerful person, man. And we also had to there was like a moment of decision for us in 307 Project. It's like, because you can talk about spirituality in a very neutral way.
Yeah, we were talking about that last night, Blake, like the universe.
Yeah. You can talk about it in a very neutral way.
Yeah.
And you're tempted to do that because you feel like if you stay neutral, that in the long run is going to be your best bet. Mm. I have found that thought process to be untrue. Like, people are so hungry for people and companies and brands and businesses who are just flat out real.
Yeah.
They're so hungry for that they don't even have to agree with you. Right. They just like the fact that you are what you are.
Yeah.
People love it because it's so rare. And we made the decision, quite obviously, if you've listened to anything that we do, to really show ourselves as who we are. And we incorporate our faith into everything that we do. And we do that because if we didn't do that, we would be intentionally withholding a part of ourselves from you, which in turn would be deceiving you. We're not going to do that. And it's created an amazing community. It's created a place where we have a weekly meeting called Resurrected on Patreon, where we have people that come and join in on these meetings that are, they chime in and it's a live call. They straight up say, I don't believe the way you guys believe, but I wanted to come in here and listen about this. That's the environment that it's created, man. And it's wonderful. Yeah. It's wonderful. So, well, I can't wait to see you guys.
I think when you're passionate about something and you believe in it, like you said, it doesn't matter if it's different. They want to know why you're passionate.
I have a good friend who's Muslim.
Yeah,
he's passionate about being a Muslim. I hang out with him. I have conversations with him. I listen to him. Like, yeah, you're exactly right. Yeah. Getting back to what you're saying. Yeah, for sure, man. All right. So the Hot Rod Ultra is now a yearly event, Lord willing.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So this year was our third year. So if you're listening and watching, it's a 24-hour run. We have the Bowling Green Ballpark as the minor league baseball stadium in Bowling Green. So basically runners just run around it. It's a 0.31 mile loop, 24 hours, 12 hours, or team relay. We started technically this is the fourth year. So the first year, again, is one of those things, like, didn't have a plan, didn't know how to do it, but I was like, I think I should do some kind of ultra something in Bowling Green. So we got the downtown square in Bowling Green. It's a 0.2 mile loop, and we had 4 people sign up. It was free. We just put it on,
That's a cool square, by the
It
way.
is a cool square. Yeah. We had one guy go 100 miles, which was crazy. And we had two guys that had blisters apparently in the first couple of hours and just disappeared. We had one guy that fell asleep and slept the rest of the night. So we had one guy essentially do it. But again, it goes back to one of those like vision things, like, oh man, this could be something really cool. What about this minor league baseball stadium? Could we it a little safer, a little better? And I didn't think they would let me do it there, and they just opened their doors to us, which was
That's amazing, man.
Yeah, barely charge us any money. Like they just pretty much do it for free, And so the first year, we had 30 people, and it was like, wow, this is really cool. Last year we had 60 people. This year we brought you in, did the kickoff event, had 85 people. We had 4 people go over 100 miles. But those are all awesome, and I love seeing people push. Obviously, I want people to go as far as possible. But the ones that really excite me was the lady, and I forget her name. Her husband was doing the race. She came to me in Logan, like 10 minutes before.
It was like 7:40. It was like 7:42. I clicked on my phone.
Okay, yeah, 7:42.
Yeah.
She's like, "Hey, I don't run. I've never done anything like this. Can I sign up though and just walk?" Like, "Hey, yeah, sure." She'd never walked more than 6 miles. She ends up doing a marathon at the event.
Man.
And seeing that lady, like, again, she was awakened. Like, whoa, like I didn't think this was possible. And she was tired and she could barely walk, but she was so proud of herself. And that's, man, to me, that's the beauty of this event. And we bring in, obviously there's some legit serious people, and all those are great. And I think everybody, it's just such a cool collection of people. And then we're basically just, again, like I asked Wade that works with me the other day, I said, well, why, like, as a wellness company, like, why do we, it's kind of weird that we do this. Like, how does this really, and then he's like, he's like, you're seeing people like unlock their potential, like, and that's wellness, and that's why we do it, right? And so, so it's going to be an annual event. September 21st is next year. We already have the registration open. Want to give a shout out to Rob Apple. He already signed up, so he's the
Did he
already signed up.
That's the world record ultra guy.
Yep.
So this year was his 791st ultra marathon.
Unbelievable.
So he's already signed up for next year. So we got one on there. So you guys go ahead and sign up. But again, we're planning on doing a kickoff event again. Would love to have you guys involved again. I thought that was awesome, and it's neat, and it's cool to see it growing. And
it is a really well ran event. It is a really well organized race.
Well, the coolest part is we got great volunteers, right? And we support a ministry called Curbside Ministries. And so Bowling Green is a refugee city. And so we have people from all over the world that come here. A couple years ago in the Middle East, when all that craziness was happening, a lot of those planes landed in Bowling Green, and those people are there with us. And so Curbside Ministries really serves those kids out on the streets, and they just bring Jesus to them. They don't do a whole lot of preaching, but a lot of leading by example, and they just love on the kids and bring them food. And this event supports them, and we were able to raise quite a bit of money this year, which was cool. And that's when you tie an event like this to a great program, and they gave so much of their time and so much effort and volunteer, and that's why the event's successful, because we have a great partner in that, and it's neat to see that money supporting a really cool ministry too.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And how can people connect with you for Move Well? If they've got a team, a corporate team, or a small, what size teams do you guys serve?
We have 5 people up to a couple thousand people.
That's
companies.
awesome. Dude.
Yeah. So,
I love that.
It's funny. It doesn't make a lot of business sense, honestly, to serve really small companies. But we realize that's where we can make the most impact, and we're not going to forget about those companies. And so we really love those companies because we can really establish those relationships and help people. And so, so if you have a company you're interested, it's movewell.com. So it's spelled MUUV, well.com.
Okay.
All of our socials the same. We have a podcast, the same name. That'd be the best way. And then if you're interested in the Hot Rod Ultra, it's hotrodultra.com.
Yeah, I'll attach those in the show notes of this episode. Amazing stuff that you guys are doing, man. Gosh, we covered a lot of ground on this episode.
Yeah.
Well, we went from Donald J. Trump to...
You started out heavy, too. I didn't know what I was jumping into with the start.
Faith to entrepreneurship to business. I mean, we covered a lot of ground. Look, dude, I haven't forgotten about the conversation around weaning off of the technology.
Yeah.
I'm serious about that, man. With all your free time, I don't know Why? I mean, you only have how many children?
We have 4 kids.
You only have
Start staying up at night
You
again.
only have 4 kids in a business. It's like, come on, Kevin. I mean, you should have created this a long time ago, dude.
I'll make sure he gets it done next Monday.
But you know what? Like my family, that's why I do what I do, right?
Yeah.
Like, if I didn't have them pushing me, motivating me, I definitely would be a shell of who I am. And I tell my wife that all the time. Like, I used to look back like in my baseball career, and it's like, you know, yeah, girls, they hold you back. You got a girlfriend at home or whatever, and you know it's going to affect your game. And like, I would not be who I am without her, you know. And she is the strong. I want to give her a shout out because honestly, like, none of this was possible without her. And strongest person I know has gone through so much in her life, and to see her succeed and then really living a very sacrificial life right now, being I'm on this podcast and getting a little publicity or whatever, but there's no publicity in being a stay-at-home mom, you know, and it's the same thing over and over and over. And talk about rewarding, powerful work, but hard to see see that in real time when you're in it.
That's the long game.
It's the ultimate long game, right? And your wife's in there too. But no, I just want to always make sure I give her a shout out because, you know, none of this is possible without her, and I'm just appreciative of them, and it's a hard, like, you know, we have 8-year-old, 3-year-old, 2-year-old, and 3-month-old, and they're here with us right now. You know, we made a decision if we were going to walk away from baseball, we're going to try to do stuff as a family. So pretty much all of our work trips, we all go together, and it's a little inconvenient at times, you know, but at the same time, we're also able to make a lot of great memories. And she got to hang out with Blake's kids last night, and they all hit it off, and, you know, meet new friends, and it's great, you know. So
Yeah, I heard you guys had definitely had a horde of children.
yeah.
oh yeah,
You can
Yeah.
combine.
I'm pretty sure. So at our hotel, we've got a ton of Vikings staying there, doing geocaching apparently here in Rome, and so
We
they're.
figured that's where you.
That's what we figured
thought
out
we'd
last
see you
night.
walking around with your beard.
So all these
braided.
people, I'm like, what? So I got to Rome like right before we went out for dinner, and so I didn't really see a whole lot. And I get to the hotel, and all these people in Viking costumes are walking out. I'm like, what is going on here at this place?
Oh.
But they're all there, and yeah, we figured maybe that's what you were doing last night. You were running the streets.
did.
They're geocaching. is what
I
they're
actually
doing.
didn't want to mention that on the podcast. I didn't want people to. That might
taking it a little too far.
Is that going to be on Sundays?
That actually might show up on Sunday's
There you go.
episode.
Yeah,
Me
there you
walking
go.
around dressed as a Viking geocaching.
He's around the corner. He's recording us walking out of the gelato shop. Don't tell Blake and them.
Oh man. Well, I love you guys so much, man. Thank you for making the trip and just sharing this wisdom with us, man. Everything from, going back to the original part of the conversation from what it was like for you to cut, this parts of technology out of your life and how that increased your productivity and how it just increased your joy and what you're getting out of life to talking about. I don't want people to forget either the part of this conversation when we talked about just that starting with 5 minutes of intentional something right now, today, in order to just change your trajectory in your life by just a half a degree and how the results that's going to produce, right? It's like we can all wrap our mind around that right now. Today, if you're feeling stuck, you can wrap your mind around that. It's 5 freaking minutes, man. It sounds stupid. It sounds cliche. I know you're thinking, that's ridiculous. But when you pair that decision with consistency, it creates a whole new path, man, over time. And you have to allow time to happen. A lot of wisdom here, man. Thank you so much. You're a special
Thanks
dude,
for the
Kevin.
opportunity.
Yeah,
I
and
appreciate
Logan,
it.
thank you, brother.
Thanks, man.
Yep. Blake, you got anything?
Nuh-uh.
All right, guys. Until next time, this is the 3 of 7 podcast. Nuff said.